Hi, everyone. My name is Georgia Reich, and I am founder of Lead Vision, and I'm excited to have the opportunity to introduce to you today a very special colleague and friend, Joss Michael. Now, before we get started, I want to tell you a little bit about the purpose of our gathering. Every month, I'm going to be holding a unique workshop called Preparing to Launch. And it is specifically for purpose-driven women who are looking to start a new business or have ideas about where they want to go when they're done with their current professional life. And usually those ideas are enterprising ideas, meaning something that you want to do after this phase in your career, or something you've always wanted to build as a business. And I use that word purpose-driven because in the context of the work that I do, I'm always focused on how can we improve one another's lives and the world around us. And that to me speaks to purpose. Now, I am so blessed to have dozens of amazing women that I know doing purposeful work, either in a nonprofit setting or as a small business owner. And today we're going to be focusing on those empowered, important women who have chosen to go the road of small business ownership. And for me, I know there are very unique characteristics specific to women and the work that they are doing in the world. So first and foremost, I would like to introduce my colleague, Joss Michael.
Hey, Georgia. Thank you for having me.
Joss is my first interviewee, and thank you for agreeing to do that. One of the things that we're going to do is just really dive into getting to know a little bit about you and your vision and how you got there. And every time I have one of these interviews, we'll walk through some standard questions so we can really hear from the experience of women business owners or women who are starting to percolate their business idea. So first, I would like to say I've known Joss an awfully long time, have we not?
Yes, many, many years.
I can't even remember. Has it been over?
At least 18, because Gavin is almost 19. So yeah.
Oh,
so I would
that's
always see him
alarming. I had
bouncing
no
around in
idea
his little car seat every time I'd see you.
Yeah. So we've been through like these phases of, marriage, motherhood, and we're still, we're always in the phase of motherhood in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
And I've watched you in particular be very successful as in your corporate life, and you can feel free to talk about that, but I've also had the chance to watch you grow into this next expression of what you are doing professionally and how you're going to be making a difference in the world around you. So I'm going to open this up and first ask you if you could tell me a little bit about your business, its name, and where you are currently living right now.
Sure. So I'm living in the Raleigh area of North Carolina in a city called Clayton. The name of the business is Breathe with Joss,
Mhm.
and the business offers professional and corporate development and empowerment programs as well as workshops. Utilizing breath as the foundational practice to presence and awareness. I also offer one-on-one and group coaching. And basically, the specialization is guiding individuals to reconnect with their authentic self, overcoming self-limiting beliefs, and doing this by creating new experiences that foster happiness and growth.
Whoa, that was packed.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to break that down just a little bit. I really liked what you said, that word authentic self. Isn't that something that I think we're all trying to move towards being, especially as we age later in life? Um, how does what does breath do to bring that out in people?
Yeah, so the breath just really helps. It actually creates physiological changes in your body. Um, the practice that I use utilizes rhythmic breathing, and rhythmic breathing really connects you to your being, in the sense that all of our systems inside of us move to a rhythm. Our heart beats in a rhythm, our blood flows in a rhythm, our electrical impulses in our brain are all in a rhythm. And so creating this coherence between the brain and heart really allows you to be so present. And it's almost like a heightened awareness where you become the observer and you really start to um, explore what is your core values and who are you really. And when we're children, we're full of love and acceptance and kindness, and we kind of lose that as we grow up older, right? There's
Yeah.
different hats that we have to wear, so we have to move into those roles, and there's different expectations that we're trying to fill, and so that authenticity in us kind of gets buried. So we never lose it. It just isn't maybe up at the very forefront of our mind. And so what breath work does is it really helps heighten that awareness, and allows you to kind of tap into that and see that as the observer, and really align with it. And when you start to align with your core values and your authentic self, everything in life starts to align as well. So,
Yeah, that word align is, talked about a lot in the energy medical arena and spirituality. And for me, when you say align with like it's like there is a real self inside of me
yeah,
that wants to be felt and heard. And you're right, we're kind of programmed and we forget how to even remember that self and then align with it, you know. So I liked what you expressed in terms of that word aligning with the authentic self. Now, I also know, because I had a chance to do a little bit of an exercise with Jocelyn. She gave me a couple of sessions as a way of building her own business. And that is one of the ways, of course, any woman can go about and launching their business is to kind of go out there and do some of the work with people so you can get more established. And I did want to say that when I did the breath work with you, it was an opening as well as an alignment. So I think, after I would spend the time working with you, as you coached me through different kinds of rhythmic breathing, it was like a shedding.
mhm,
Does that make sense? Kind of a
absolutely.
letting go of the masks.
Absolutely. Yep. So there is releases that have to happen in order for the authentic to come out. And there is an opening that, and actually I'll talk about that a little bit later, but there's an opening that needs to happen, right? You have to be open to accepting and acknowledging who you are and bringing that
Yeah.
person to the forefront. Yep.
Yeah. Well, that's an awesome introduction, although I know there are so many other things that you do, and let's be sure to talk about your Breathe Beats initiative, because that was a class that I know you just recently have. But I kind of want to get down to the business of hearing your thoughts about what inspired you to start a business, especially a business that was very different than what you had been doing. And if you want to talk about that as well, because that's part of your step of entrepreneurship, changing.
So I've always had kind of an entrepreneurial spirit. Even from being a little girl, I remember making these little boxes that you would blow into, and we'd put little fortunes in them and sell them, just to get
You
a little bit
sold
of
them?
for a quarter, I think 10 cents or a quarter each. We are trying to get to that 50-cent mark to go down to the corner store and get a popsicle. But yeah, I was like 5 or 6 years old. I mean, I was very, very young. So I've always kind of had that entrepreneurial business, and it was wanting to share this like cool little creation that we made with people, but also wanting to just kind of get a little bit of reward for the fruits of our labor, because we did put a
Yeah.
lot of time in there.
Yeah.
So there was that. Um, and so it was almost like every single time I learned something, I wanted to teach it to someone else. And this actually ended up becoming my career. And I started in health and safety training, and I had some wellness programs along with the health and safety training. And then I moved into training for Epic EMR systems, which was very exciting in the beginning. Um, there was a purpose to it, right? We were creating this electronic medical record that was going to really change the world of healthcare. And so I have been doing that since 2007, sprinkled in with having the honor of kind of still wanting to live in this mindfulness and wellness world, and having had the honor to create events and experiences that really held space, where the participants felt like a sense of freedom. And that just felt really good inside. And I wanted to do more of that.
Yeah.
And, sharing my story and sharing my journey with others, allowed other people to feel free to be vulnerable, and like a container of space that was free of criticism, free of judgment, and what I like to call a safe space. And what really influenced me to pull the trigger and launch into the community was I was presenting one of my workshops called Small Shifts Create Meaningful Change. And I asked the question, has anyone heard of the concept of holding space? And out of 68 attendees, not one person raised their hand. And that was really an aha moment for me. It was kind of like, and I realized that I need to be in the community, sharing these safe spaces, because I have experienced, hosting other events in the community that really held space for people. And so that was really the moment that I was ready to just push into the community. I think that having safe spaces is really crucial for our overall well-being, and it allows us to be able to move and grow when we're in spaces where we feel held, right? And we feel free to be ourselves, and we don't have to have the fear of judgment or rejection. It's just really important.
There are so few of those spaces, right? Where you just know you're safe. And also, if you and I have talked a lot about people who've had trauma experiences, that safe space is so important, especially when you're working with mindfulness and healing. People who've had trauma experiences, to be vulnerable, you really have to have that safe space just to be who you are, where you're at. And I know that you create that for people. In a way, it's like judgment-free church. It's very sacred. And that really is a gift that you're bringing into the world. And how fascinating that nobody knew that term.
Yeah, it is really fascinating. That and I know it's a term that's used a lot, like in therapeutic settings, but it's also a term that I feel like is almost self-explanatory if you hadn't heard the concept. Um,
Right.
when you think of holding space, I feel like it does bring to mind like being held, almost like
Yeah.
and comforted. So yeah, I mean, it was and these, are professional people in a corporate setting that I was presenting to. And it was just, when I looked at the numbers, I just realized that this is really something that is needed. It's something that's needed.
Well, and I think part of why I appreciate that you are making your work available to both, the public domain in general, but also to that business and corporate environment, because work has changed so dramatically since COVID. We are still living with many stressors. Life is no, I mean, there's more and more stress every single day you wake up to it. So especially in the work environment, to be able to provide that energy, the just that to people to understand what it means to create safe space with one another is a gift to helping people be more satisfied personally and professionally. I think it could be a real gift in the business sector as well. Um, Now, that word purpose, I know it's a big word, and not everybody thinks about purpose. And luckily, I've got a lot of friends who think about their purpose in life, or even their purpose for being alive. I'm sure everyone has that thought at least one point, but in the context of your purpose and how that influenced your work, what are those connecting dots? I mean, do you have a sense of personal purpose that led to your work?
Since I was a little girl, I wanted to help people, and I have been blessed enough to be able to help a lot of people throughout my life. And I think the spirit of sharing is one thing that has always stayed very strong in me since
Hmm.
I was a little girl into adulthood. And what I discovered was through my sharing of my experiences and my knowledge, I was helping people. And so everything starts from within, right? So I was creating moments of resonance in people through sharing my story, and as well as piquing curiosity for these individuals to do self-discovery themselves. And just really honoring my story, and creating creating an environment where that's what we need to do. We really need to honor and share our stories. So the spirit of sharing is really, I think, what my purpose is, because what the byproduct is of sharing my journey, my story, my lessons, my knowledge, the tools that helped me along my journey and continue to help me, cultivates um, healing and reconnection and rediscovering and love and finding motivation, um, and people. Like, so it ignites something within themselves to kind of start their journey or move forward in their journey. Everybody's in a different place. So it's interesting that sharing has really cultivated my purpose and helps people, which is really, I want people to be happy. I want people to feel loved. I want people to feel accepted. I just, would love to see a world where, um, it's an empathetic and loving world. That's just what I really want to see. And I think um, when we share parts of ourselves, the gifts that we have, what makes us unique, is really it helps other people without even knowing. I mean, I had a letter that I wrote to
Excuse me.
myself years ago, and it just popped up in my notes. It's something that I did. It was just kind of like putting something on paper and just releasing it from myself. And I went to a spoken word event, and it happened to pop up, around that time. And I said, well, I think I'm going to share this. And my intention was just to say it out loud. Because it was something that I was writing to myself as though I was in the future to my past self. And I felt like I had really gotten to that place where it made sense for me to speak it out loud. And in that sharing experience, I had 4 women come up to me and tell me how much they needed to hear that. And it was not intentional, right? It was just one of those things that I needed to do on my journey. And it helped, 4 women, and created a connection between us. And one of the women I'm still in touch with, and actually, a year later, she reposted it, a video of me sharing that. So yeah, I think my purpose really is sharing, because when I do share, the byproduct of that is really healing in other women and
That
other
is
individuals. Yeah.
so cool. I never thought about the word in that word sharing in such a powerful way. I mean, even when you were a trainer, the who you are, the natural person that you are, is what made you successful. It wasn't just because you were a good trainer. You had a sharing nature. And here this is in a setting that's even more enriching for people on a mind, body, spirit level. And that sharing, wow, what a powerful way to look at the word sharing as a purpose. And you're right, because in sharing, first of all, we're all defensive all day long, right? I'm defensive. I wake up and I'm first thing I got to do is meditate my way out of out of defensiveness to the world, So we just live in this space where you have to always be careful. And that sharing really breaks down all of that defensiveness into a really awesome intimacy with yourself and with other people. How cool. Wow. And I'm sure everything that you do in your work somehow involves that exchange of allowing people the space to say and be whatever they need to be. And that's sharing of who they truly are, It's awesome. Well, I have a couple more questions. Are you up to it?
Yes.
All righty. One of the things that and are learning right now is the challenge of building a business. And as I always say to people, I have succeeded a couple of times and I've failed more times. And I'm not ashamed of that, especially in business development, because it's continuous and it's hard work as you're trying to really make yourself, put yourself in a position where you can live off of this next phase of your life and doing what you really love to do. So with that being said, what are some of the biggest challenges that you have faced in launching, and even if they're internal challenges, or the external challenges you faced in launching your business?
So, the challenges that I'm facing in my business are really the best part of building a business. Um, I'm learning so much. And I'm really discovering that there are some limiting beliefs within me that I need to tackle in this journey to building the business. And so creating a new story of growth in a professional sense. I feel like I've really am at a really good place on a personal level, but now I get to grow in a professional setting. So the challenges that I am realizing is things such as growing an audience. So I thought very much that if I build it, they will come. That's what I thought. And so I'm learning that there is a lot more work involved beyond just the creation of the program and the workshops and the experiences. So I'm learning the importance of networking, and I'm really moving out of my comfort zone, and just really growing. And it's a beautiful thing. After COVID and 2020, I just got really used to isolating myself.
Mhm.
And I do a lot virtually, but not a lot. I wasn't doing a lot physically. And so I'm really putting myself out there, and moving out of your comfort zone does promote growth, but it is a little bit uncomfortable. It is a little bit of a challenge. And so those are kind of the things that I'm learning, and just the time of doing your research and finding resources. But the nice thing is that I've done a really good job finding some really good resources. And so now I can share those with other people who may be in the same space that I am, but I'm in the infant stage of my business. And so, it's fun. And it's kind of like the little, baby that stands up and then kind of like falls back down and then pulls themselves back up and then falls back down. And then when they get steady on their feet and they take that first step, the joy in that baby's face and everyone around celebrating. And so I'm there, like I've done the first step and I'm starting to walk. And so, it's there are a lot of challenges with business on the business side. It's a lot more involved than I would have ever thought, and just really kind of understanding the financial part and the sustainability part of a business. And so I want everything to be accessible, and um, I wish I could not have to do the part of charging people for services and things like that. And so really kind of navigating like what is something that can sustain the business, maybe have a little bit of profit, but still be accessible to like the majority. So I am playing with, sliding scales, and things like that. And so it is a challenge in kind of um, understanding, the population and what the needs are right now. But it's fun too.
Yeah. Well, the basic principle in small and big business is diversification. I love to tell the story. I don't know the name of the product, but you'll know it when I say it's that woman who invented the vaginal cream that makes your vagina not smell and all your other body parts. And I've watched her build, she's on the internet and she's just building and building, and she's not yet in the major stores. And for some reason, I've just been engaged in her campaign over 5 years. Started out with 2 products, now then 8 products. And then she diversified how she presented them. So, this woman who's on YouTube, probably at least 12 times a day trying to sell vaginal cream, I can see it working. And I'm like, yay, you go for it. And it's a good product. But that progressive business building. And a couple of years ago, I thought, boy, she should give up. And no, she's keep on keeping on. And that has been my story. I've worked in a couple of different arenas, but it's that tenacity to not let go of your purpose and how you're expressing that professionally. And that word tenacity is really, I think, part of what I see in you. It's like you have a very powerful will, because 18 years ago when we first met, you were percolating and trying to do business building back then with advanced life services. And, there's been a pulse of you never giving up on what resides in you. This urge to be an entrepreneur and this urge to help people and facilitate sharing. So, yay, you diversify as much as you can. And that hopefully will increase all kinds of opportunities for you.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, unique to being a woman. Now, I always say this, this workshop and the supporting masterclass is called Preparing to Launch Startup Support for Purpose-Driven Fempreneurs. And that word fempreneur, when I told my daughter that word, she and her friend laughed. And I said, no, this is a real word that
Yeah.
I'm just Google it. So it's the connection of entrepreneurial initiatives or ventures for women or by women. So that's my question to you. What is it unique about being a woman and starting a small business? What is it you think women bring to the industry overall as small business developers?
Well, I think that in my experience, when you get a group of women together in a space, there's a real energy of power in that. And I think that women bring a nice balance, being being bringing that feminine energy right into business, and it's kind of changing the world of business. I'm hearing things like my one friend has a business, and it's their culture is nurturing, which is something that's really kind of a feminine energy, and boutique, right? So it's just bringing this new energy of balance in business. And so I think that women entrepreneurs are just amazing. They just bring this different a different energy, and that energy with the more growing of women owned businesses is really kind of balancing out the world of business.
Well, and I have a very strong belief, right or wrong, that within everybody there is a golden nugget. You know me and my golden nuggets. There's a golden, oh God, lots of floating golden nuggets. And one of those golden nuggets is a small business, is an entrepreneurial or a sole proprietor initiative. Why? Because everybody has something that they love.
Yeah.
And we live in the United States, which is so consumer focused. The probability of doing something that you love and selling something that you love is possible. And we live also in a global economy. So I believe everybody's got a little business inside of them. And as women, that I notion that our efforts bring kind of balance to communities is a really interesting thought, Joss. It's a very interesting, because it is about energy. You know, even when I was growing up, the role model I had was my mom. She was in business, but she bought kind of the patriarchal norms, you know, and it kind of cost a lot, I think, for her. That was that
Yeah.
time. And here we are a couple decades later. So women are coming into the work world through small business development and bringing their unique strengths, as you said, those energies,
Yeah.
you know. Do you have a lot of friends who are developing businesses?
So I think one of the important things for women entrepreneurs is to have community. And
Hmm.
so I am developing a community. Community is imperative to personal well-being and vitality. And I think that crosses over into the professional life as well. And it's crucial for the vitality of our businesses. And so I am joining a lot of women-based networking organizations. And so I am meeting a lot of women in business, and there's a natural organic connection between women. And so women who've been in business a lot longer are naturally mentoring women who are newer to business. And so that community is really beautiful. And it's also, giving me a chance to feel inspired if there are problems that I'm coming across, kind of bringing those to this networking community and solving them together, sharing humor, venting, learning. And it kind of provides like a nice sense of belonging, because we have that one common modality of being women, business owners and small business owners. So a lot of the networking organizations that I belong to are small business owners, and it allows us, the chance to network. It fosters collaboration. It's a positive environment. It just enhances, your professional growth and your personal growth, as well.
Right.
Working with other women, and there's just like such a vast variety of women in these groups. There's older women, there's women that are my age, much younger women, so it's just it's really nice. And so I am starting to build my community of other business owners and finding really, I mean, like, when I tell you like the creativity of these women, it's like awesome. I met a woman who she is a stylist. So she buys clothes for you, but only from consignment stores.
Hmm.
And so she has something called a consignment crawl. And I cannot wait to go on this. So it's kind of like the concept of the bar crawl, right? But instead, it's a bunch of women that get together to go shopping. They get into a car and go to all these different consignment shops. And I'm like, what an awesome business idea. I mean, she's just absolutely amazing. And it's something I would have never thought of, but something I definitely want to be part of. I
Oh, that's
definitely
awesome.
want to experience that. So yeah, I mean, it really creates opportunities, to support one another's business and have like these new experiences that you would have never thought to do. And
Well,
yes.
in my work as a consultant, one of the premises is in addition to diversifying what you offer, the power of partnership.
Yeah.
And for me, in the context of women business owners, it's also this power of sisterhood, you
Yes.
know, and that's something that we have to intentionally rebuild on this planet, probably because we were following a model of doing business that was really built on kind of the male paradigm. This is how you do stuff. But this notion that through partnership and sisterhood and collaboration, we can all be successful.
Right.
That is not actually some just hoo-ha from some new age, guru. They actually have done research on the power of collaboration and partnership. And they know that in business as well. So women, I think, have that natural inclination to connect, to find connection,
Right.
to nurture, and to build each other up. I think that is all there. And it's so awesome to hear you talk about you doing that for yourself. And because your purpose is sharing, you're doing that for other women. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I've had a lot of competitive experiences with women and over the years. And this year, one of my 2024 goals is just to trust sisterhood. When I find it, I'm going to follow that energy and explore things with people that want to hold that space of let's be successful together.
Right.
So yay, you building the sisterhood out there. Let
Well,
me say that.
I'm joining the sisterhood because these networks are already built, but I'm joining them and they're very welcoming and it's really nice. And there's, some women that we just
But
naturally
chances are
together.
high because you're in the healing sector.
Yeah.
You're going to build your own network,
Right.
as you are, because you've already shared important connections with me. So there's lots of sisterhood networks that are ahead of us, I have a feeling, right?
Oh, yes, for sure.
Yeah. And that for me, that's not only just about opportunities to make money, and that's of course a priority, but it's that opportunity to have a more fulfilling life, if I can be honest. you know, a lot of people, and my journey has included a lot of isolation time. So I'm excited about being in community in different ways this year. So, and of course, you and I will continue our sisterhood as we have had for 18 years. Okay, one last thing. Oh, two things. First of all, is there something that you want people to know about? I'm going to definitely be putting your information at the end of the video so folks can take a look, and I'll reference it in the posting. But what's coming up? And is there anything else you really want to feature?
So I launched something called Breathe Beat Fusions, and Beats Fusion is a practice where breath work, free movement, and organic beats unite to create this like synergetic harmony of mind, body, and spirit. In this practice, it heightens awareness, it promotes grounding, connection, and release, as well as the heart-brain coherence. I've also included
Wait a
in
minute. What are you doing? What's happening when you're doing this? Are you moving? Are you
breath
dancing? Are
work.
you
Yeah,
okay?
so breath work, free movement, and organic beats. So there's music.
Okay.
You're also doing breath work. The free movement is really tapping into um, your inner rhythms,
Okay.
and then connecting those with the external rhythms of those organic beats. And so the fusion of that is what creates the dance. So I like to say, don't think of yourself as a dancer and there's dance moves, because that's not the purpose of this. What it really is the purpose of connecting those rhythms, and that rhythm creates the free movement that comes out of your body, and that comes out as a dance.
Yeah.
And so what I've also included is sensory immersion, so that people can explore how to use their senses to also ground, connect, and promote self-discovery. So that's the part that really kind of helps make this, well, it's unique in the sense that it's taking some foundational practices and merging them together, but the sensory immersion is also like a nice touch. So we've already started the workshop at 6 weeks. We're on week 2. So the next session is going to be January 24th, and the theme is embracing authenticity and honoring our truths. So for that week, the sensory modality is taste. So we're going to have the cacao sharing experience prior to the Breathe Beats Fusion portion. That is a heart-opening practice. I'm super excited to share the cacao, because cacao is deeply rooted in my ancestry, from my family being from Guatemala. So
Oh,
sharing how to prepare, how to use, and all the amazing health and spiritual benefits that come from cacao. I'm really looking forward to that. So
wow. Now I've had a chance to do some form of what you've done and some ecstatic dance, and I also used to do sacred dance myself years ago, and which I love. So the power of that freeing again, that shedding, I can imagine it's just an incredible experience for people and building community. Joss, you make me feel like I just want to be there.
it was so our first week was awesome. It was just an incredible experience,
Oh,
and I really enjoyed watching and hearing when people shared what their experience was with it, and I think it's just so important to really know that we are in charge of, deciding what experiences we want in life. I mean, there's two main lenses you can look through, right? There's the lens of fear and the lens of love. And which one do you want to look through? What experiences do you want? And so really kind of sharing that with people, and allowing them the space to have these experiences in love, and away from fear, is it's a gift. It's really
yeah.
nice.
And I can honestly say, because I've done a lot of work with survivors of abuse and sexual assault and violence, what I love most about your practice and the variety of alternative practices out there is that it works kind of in this very subtle realm of healing, and that complements if you're kind of working through any major issues. There's always behavioral therapy and there's cognitive therapy, and then there's these other therapies that have, I don't know, I just think it's subtle, or it's the work of, your inner self. And it's so wonderful how healing can take place in these spaces, sometimes even without words being said. And that, of course, is one of the reasons why I do poetry and writing and using the creative energy. So I really see the work that you're doing is always contributing kind of to that healing emergence of people. Would you agree that it really supports
Absolutely.
healing?
It does, and it gives us so it's an embodied movements that we're doing, and so it teaches us to listen to a language that doesn't involve words, right? We're
Right.
listening to how things feel in our body. We're listening to what our body is telling us because our body does try to communicate to us. We just don't listen. And what happens is when you live in a world that doesn't have those safe spaces where you can express yourself, you take those emotions and you just pack them down inside, and they have to go somewhere. And when you're talking about trauma, muscle has memory. So, that trauma can get stuck into places in our body. And so this is really helping to release that and learn how to listen to another language or another, yeah, like another language. Our body has a language that speaks to us, and how to really listen and hear what our body is trying to tell us, and trust that, to really
Yeah.
build that relationship of trust with yourself. And when you start to do all these things within yourself, right, you start to trust yourself and you start to align with yourself, it just spreads out to the others. So Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. And so that really does start internally. And that's kind of my hope, is to just plant those seeds internally and then allow people to just blossom into their journey, whatever resonates with them. From my modalities or my practices is great, but like you said, there's a ton of practices out there that are really helpful. And I'm hoping, as I build my network of community, that I do have those those other practices like that I can refer people to if they want to explore other things. But yeah.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. Well, I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to share, you're welcome to. Is there anything else you want to plug or share?
Um, well, there's something exciting coming soon.
Oh,
So this summer, I will be announcing something new, and it will be specific to teenagers.
oh,
So, this is probably something that anybody who is a parent of teenagers may want to kind of uh, keep a pulse on it.
well,
So
that's
that will
very
be this summer.
exciting.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I
So
just need to say I'm so glad my children are not teenagers. So mea culpa to you.
I
I'm
have
glad they're grown. It's so
three
hard.
three teenagers living in my home, and so that was the inspiration for this new program.
Well, everything has a reason, doesn't it? So you got that life experience, and I'm sure you're going to help other teens, because what a difficult time of life. Well, Jess, I want to thank you so much for being here and being my first interviewee. I really have enjoyed every minute, and even though I know you, I've always learned. I'm always learning from you every time we get together. And I did want to point out that in the background, I have this amazing symbol. I have been researching the different symbols of the feminine. And I don't know, this was today and it reminded me of you, because a lot of what you and I've experienced in life is rising from our own challenges, kind of rising from the ashes of our own illnesses, our mental challenges, old beliefs. So this symbol kind of reminded me of you and your own ability to rise into your strengths. So with that being said, I want to thank you again. and really honor what you do and want to be helpful to you and building your business. So please let me know how I can help you.
Thank you, Georgia. It's always very nice to see you and spend time with you. And it's funny that you mentioned that reminds you of me, because I don't know if you remember, the painting doesn't exist anymore, but I actually had a painting with wings in the hand like that. I don't know if you remember. I have
I
a picture of
do.
it somewhere. I'll have to
I
send it to you.
do.
It's one that I decided to
Gosh, isn't that funny? But that was like
yeah.
years and years ago you did that.
I think it was my second painting. So the first one was with fingers.
Oh,
That was
right.
the second one that I did. And that one I used. Yeah. So
Isn't that
I
something
didn't
that,
realize when you were, I saw the wings, but I didn't realize it was a woman until you moved to the,
oh, until I moved to that side.
that's beautiful.
So, well, here we are. We're doing it and we're rising and we're learning every day. So thank you again. And I know for sure you're going to be a successful entrepreneur. So good luck to you. And I'm in your corner, Joss.
Thank you.
All righty. Have a
All
good
right.
day.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right.